maybe $500 or something to help maybe fund research for cancer, but that didn't work out. So I decided to take my project in a new direction, and I just put together a presentation and gave it to Ms. O'Boyle's health class to raise awareness. I chose this project because I've always found cancer to be quite an interesting disease. You know, it's really simple. It's just uncontrolled cell growth, but it can be really devastating to the person afflicted by the disease and those around him. And I really want to be an oncologist when I grow up, so I thought this would be a cool project for me to do. You know, it would give me some insight on the field and into the disease itself. And I want to see people doing more to prevent the disease. And I think people aren't doing enough, so I thought maybe if I showed them some ways they can prevent it, they would start doing more. So I went in and gave the presentation, and I kind of flipped through the slides and talked about the disease. You know, I talked about preventions, ways they can prevent themselves from getting the disease. I explained how they can get it, causes of the disease, and I let them ask questions about it. You know, like, I got a few questions, I think. Here, go flip to the. I answered some questions about what can I do personally to prevent myself from getting cancer. I also went through risk factors, what puts you at a higher risk to get cancer, and by doing this, I hope to accomplish, maybe possibly even just one person. Maybe I helped them prevent getting cancer, or maybe raised awareness to help them or their friends. I gave them resources, and I gave them slides and information that I had researched to help them kind of get what cancer is really all about and why it's so important for them to go through these preventions so they don't get the disease themselves. And then this is just kind of me doing the project. That's me explaining normal cell growth versus cancer cell growth, because I wanted them to really understand the disease the way I did, so they can know just how bad it is to have cancer. That way they would maybe be a little more interested in preventing it and not catching the disease themselves. So I went through my PowerPoint here, and I talked about 3 different types of cancer. I talked about skin cancer, I talked about lung cancer, and I talked about skin cancer, lung cancer, and I don't know why I can't remember right now, prostate cancer. The 3 leading causes of cancer in the U.S. Also the 3 biggest preventable cancers in the U.S. because I just felt like people don't care enough about preventing cancer, that they're just going to end up getting it themselves, and then they're going to realize they could have done something different. And by giving the presentation, I really feel like, maybe people didn't listen, maybe they did, but I feel like I could have maybe made a difference in at least one person's life. Maybe they'll realize they're doing some things they probably shouldn't be doing, be it not taking care of themselves, not eating healthy enough, maybe they're getting into cigarettes or something. And I just went in and explained that if you're going to do it, you should at least know what the risks are, what's going to happen if you continue. And yeah, that's my senior project. These were some of the resources I used. Maybe you guys could check them out yourselves if you like. They just have basic information on what causes cancer, what are the early signs, and what you can do to help prevent it.
As part of Dan's rubric, he's asking to be scored how well he can answer questions. So if there are 3 or 4 questions for Dan, that'll be helpful for him.
Nicole.
What made you want to become an oncologist?
been really interested in medicine, probably because my dad's a doctor. And just being really exposed to that environment really got me more and more interested in it. But I kind of went my own way with that because I've always thought cancer, like I said, is a really interesting disease. It's just really interesting to me how just something so simple can just be so devastating to someone. And I thought, what could I do personally to help people in their struggle against cancer? And I thought becoming an oncologist would be a good way for me to get close to them and maybe even make some breakthroughs in the disease.
So how did the people in Mrs. O'Boyle's class respond to your presentation? What kind of
They're
questions did
actually really interested, especially when I showed them the video of regular cell growth versus cancer cell growth. They thought it was pretty interesting to see just how fast cancer can metastasize and invade other parts of the body. And it kind of gave them some insight on, well, if I get cancer, it's obviously could be pretty bad. And I think that really at least maybe scared them away from, you know, doing things that put them at risk for cancer, like smoking cigarettes and staying out in the sun too long and, you know, just stuff like that.
Did when you presented to Ms. O'Boyle's class, did she say anything about how she was gonna like she wanted like the presentation to show to other classes?
Yeah, actually, Ms. O'Boyle mentioned she wanted me to forward her the presentation so she could maybe use it as an example to show other classes because I thought I did a pretty good job of putting together the most preventable causes of cancer and displaying them to the class in a way that made it seem interesting without, you know, being too bland that were to the point they would get.
Thank you.